Hey there, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've gathered a whole stack of sources today, covering some really cutting-edge developments in AI. Things seem to be moving incredibly fast right now.
They really are. It's almost hard to keep up.
Yeah, so our mission here is to, cut through some of that noise. We'll unpack these sources, articles, notes, bits of research, figure out what's genuinely new, what's significant in AI products and models, and crucially, what it all means for you.
Exactly. And looking through this material, a few clear themes pop out. We're definitely seeing AI designed to take more action, not just respond passively. New ways to interact too, like voice and these new AI-focused browsers. Plus, some really powerful foundational models are emerging, even open source ones, and specialized AI for specific needs. It really paints a picture of, well, rapid innovation on all fronts.
Okay, let's dive in then. A big theme, as you said, this idea of AI agents, AI that doesn't just talk, but does stuff. Let's unpack this.
Yeah.
What does this trend towards agentic AI actually look like based on our sources?
Right. It's really a move beyond just, question and answer. Companies are building AI that can plan and then actually execute multi-step tasks. Mistral AI, for example, they've just launched a new Agents API. And this thing is designed specifically to let developers build agents that can do autonomous planning, they can run code, search the web, even generate images, retrieve documents.
So it's about handling a whole workflow, not just one query.
Precisely. It's asking the AI to manage a complex process. And the sources note this lines up with what others like OpenAI and Anthropic are apparently working towards too, making AI much more action-oriented.
That shift, executing tasks, not just finding info, that feels pretty significant. And we're seeing it pop up in specialized areas too, right? The sources mention factory AI SWE agents by Nemotron Cortexa.
Yeah, that's a great example. They actually topped the Swebench leaderboard.
Okay, and Swebench measures.
It specifically tests how well an AI can solve software engineering problems. Real coding challenges. So Nemotron Cortexa, doing well there, really highlights its ability to handle these complex, multi-step coding tasks. It's a practical demonstration of that agentic capability in a, pretty demanding technical field.
Right, so it's not just theory, it's getting real results in tough areas like software development. And there was that small detail too about Mistral's agents. Their image generation part uses a specific model, Black Forest Labs.
FLUX1.1 Pro Ultra. It just shows how these complex agent systems can actually be built by integrating different specialized models for specific parts of the task, like image creation.
Interesting. Okay, so AI is starting to do more complex things. How is that changing the way we interact with it on a daily basis? This is where it gets, well, potentially really impactful for everyone.
Yeah, it raises big questions about the user experience, the interface. Anthropic, for instance, is beta testing a Claude Voice Mode. The whole idea there is natural interaction. You just talk to the AI, it gets it, responds conversationally.
Like having a real conversation.
Kinda, yeah. It lowers the barrier, right?
Yeah.
No typing needed. Makes AI feel much more accessible, maybe more intuitive for a lot more people and situations.
And the sources also pointed to big changes in how AI meets web browsing, with Perplexity and Opera doing new things.
Definitely. Perplexity Labs is really pushing AI search, but with a couple of key twists. It's real-time and it's heavily focused on citations, backing up its answers.
Why is the citation part so important?
Well, trust, mainly. It lets you verify the info, dig into the original sources if you want to go deeper, builds confidence in the answers. They also have this deep research feature. Apparently, it can generate quite detailed reports on complex topics in just minutes.
Minutes? Compared to what, hours of human research?
That's the contrast they make, yeah. It points to a potentially massive speed up for research tasks.
And these new browsers, Perplexity's Comet and Opera's browser operator, sounds like they're taking AI integration even further.
They are. The concept is being called agentic search, basically built into the browser. So instead of you clicking around, opening tabs, doing things manually, the AI inside the browser can sort of act autonomously to help you out.
Like what? What's an example?
Well, the Opera example given was helping with tasks like booking a trip or shopping online, based just on you describing what you want in natural language.
So the browser becomes less of a passive window and more of an active assistant.
Exactly. An AI tool that can actually work for you, interacting with websites and online content. It really changes the whole dynamic of using the web.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's look under the hood. What about the actual AI models powering some of this?
Right, the engine's driving it all.
Yeah.
What's really interesting here is seeing some incredibly powerful models coming out, and not always from the biggest names. DeepSeek's R10528 model got highlighted quite a bit.
Okay, what's special about that one?
The big thing is that it's open source. But, according to the sources, its performance in certain benchmarks is right up there, rivaling proprietary systems. They mention OpenAI's o1 and Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro.
Wow, okay. An open source model competing at that level, that sounds like a big deal. What are the implications?
Oh, it's huge. Mostly for accessibility and innovation. The sources say it's cost-effective, and they've even put out a distilled version that's light enough to run on just a single GPU.
A single GPU? Seriously?
Yeah, that dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for, developers, researchers, smaller companies. They can get their hands on really advanced AI without needing massive server farms or paying hefty API fees. It's also mentioned it's being used by platforms like Perplexity and U.com already. And there was a specific note about it being hosted on U.S. servers for data privacy and uncensored responses, apparently.
Interesting. So wider access driving more innovation. Makes sense. The sources also mentioned spatial AI foundation models. Bit of a mouthful. How does that fit in?
You can think of those as the sort of base layer, the fundamental intelligence. The sources describe them as these underlying versatile AI models that act as the building blocks for a lot of the applications we've been talking about. Companies like Mistral, Google, they're really focused on advancing these core models so they can be adapted for all sorts of tasks. They provide the raw cognitive power that then gets channeled into agents, search tools, whatever else.
Gotcha. Okay, one last area that really stood out, a very specific application.
Ah, yes. SignGemma from Google DeepMind.
Right, what does that do?
It translates sign language into spoken text. The sources are pretty clear on its function. And the why is really the key thing here. It's such a clear example of AI being developed specifically for inclusivity, trying to bridge communication gaps, especially for deaf and hard of hearing communities.
That's fantastic. It shows AI being used for real social good, beyond just the commercial stuff.
Exactly. It highlights that potential. So we pull all this together. The sources we dove into really show a clear direction, don't they? AI is definitely becoming more autonomous, these agents that can plan and act. That's a major shift. It's also getting woven more seamlessly into how we interact with tech, through voice, through these smarter browsers that work proactively. We're seeing incredibly powerful models. And crucially, strong open source options are emerging, democratizing access. And we're seeing AI get specialized for really diverse and important jobs, like translation for accessibility. The pace across all these fronts is just, well, it's remarkable.
So bringing it back home, what does all this really mean for you listening right now? These aren't just, technical updates floating in the ether. They really point towards a future where AI is less like a tool you consciously pick up and use, and maybe more like a co-pilot, or even an agent that's just there, embedded in your workflow, your daily life.
Yeah, taking on more complexity, automating more processes.
Right. Changing how you research, how you interact with information, how you get things done online. So think about it. With AI agents that can plan and do tasks for you, browsers that act on your behalf, systems generating reports or translating sign language, what new skills or maybe new ways of thinking become most valuable for you in that kind of world? A world where AI is much more action-oriented, much more integrated.
A fundamental shift, isn't it?
It really feels like it. And figuring out how we adapt, how we learn to work with these increasingly capable systems, that seems like the big question going forward.